Hey y'all, welcome back to Pick Up the Truth. Now, today we're gonna take a look at a video of Governor Abbott, governor of Texas. We're gonna listen to him speak about the crisis at the border. But first, I want to get into his title as governor. Now, each one of our states has a governor that controls the people that live in the land, in the imaginary borders they invent and name for you to believe in. Like the state of Texas has imaginary borders that people comply by, abide by, and are restricted by. And each governor has the right, or the ability, I should say, to restrict your actions, your thoughts, and your movements, as we've seen with the COVID. And they have the ability to treat the people that live on that natural land as outright slaves that they tell what to do and how to live. And they make no bones about it, and some states are enforcing these lockdowns and restrictions very strictly on the people. And it's awful what's going on. It's awful how these natural men, and that's all they are, natural men or women, having this much authority over another person they should be equal to. You know, this man should be equal to any natural man on this earth. But the way they set up this system for us to believe in, and the straw men they created us to be, the straw men or women they created us to be, when they get us to believe in the documents that make us a legal citizen, which is another title or label they get us to believe we are. And then once we believe we are that, to the nation that stole our land and resources, which in my case is America, they get me to think I'm a legal citizen in America. And then they can control me with that title, that label. They get me to believe in since birth, brainwashing for my mind. So they can control me with the social security number they give me, the driver's license number they control me with, the birth date that they created me to have. They control us all with these numbers that they get our minds to be consumed with. They get us to think we are these numbers, and they use it against us. They can fine you at any time with the numbers that I've listed that they control us with. And these numbers will consume us our entire life. And we allow it. And that's the worst part. We don't see how they're controlling us in an awful way that takes away our natural freedoms, but we just allow it. We allow ourselves to be controlled by the people who have stolen our natural land and resources from us. Make no bones about it. We should never give people authority over who we naturally are, or try to define us with labels they created. You know, they get us to believe in these labels, and they have us right where they want us. They can define us into who they want us to be. all they need us to do is believe in these systems they program us to believe in since birth. Well, hell, I mean, they don't even give us any choice to believe in it. They just say this is how it is, and we accept it, But when are we going to stand up against it? Because these systems ultimately restrict humanity. I mean, there's no way we're going to advance as people that live on this earth should advance and should live truthfully and advance. And it's awful how we've allowed our freedoms, our natural freedoms, to the land that was naturally created for us. And I know people have a hard time believing. Well, why would you have a hard time believing that the land was created for you? I mean, we all have to come to grips that we were created. We were created by what created this land that we live on, and the land was created for us to live freely on and not be controlled on, or not be controlled by others, and have the land kept away in some kind of systematic way that they divide us with. And this is what we allow. When we accept these systems, we allow ourselves to be divided in many ways and defined in many ways with these labels they create and control us with. But we have to wake up to these things, these real ways, these ways that get us to think are normal lives. That's just the way it is. It's just the way they just the way it's always been. You can't. We have to stop thinking that way. We have to stop using the same old tired excuses. Now, let's break into the video.
Let me begin by making one point very clear. There is a crisis on the Texas border right now with the overwhelming number of people who are coming across the border. This crisis is a result of President Biden's open border policies. It invites illegal immigration and is creating a humanitarian crisis in Texas right now that will grow increasingly worse by the day. In getting information in my meeting with the Border Patrol, I learned these things. And that is one of the reasons for this crisis that has led to a dramatic change in just a few months is the change in policy. There was a policy that people who had come across the border illegally would be returned across the border. And there was also the Remain in Mexico policy. With the elimination of those policies, that led to a dramatic increase in the number of people coming across the border. Second,
now, Governor Abbott, now, granted, he wants you to believe in him. He wants you to believe in the title that he thinks he is. He thinks he's the governor instead of being just a natural man, equal to all natural men and women that are on this earth. But he's above us. He wants you to believe in that title so he can be above you and tell you, how to live, who to be, and what to do. Now, the border, he wants you to be consumed by two different administrations that control our minds. Okay? One administration that governed over us believed that the border should be walled off. People should be coming over in a legal, registered way. And then you have another administration wanting to just open the borders and have people freely coming through. And so they can have the same opportunities as the people living here. And that's where they want to divide us. I mean, both sides are division. You know, both sides divide and restrict because they want us to believe in the names and the labels they created to control us with. Now, keep in mind the horrible ways that they control us normally that we're used to, okay, already. We know naturally we shouldn't have a wall dividing the lands. And we know naturally we shouldn't have governing bodies telling us how to live and who to be on the lands that were naturally created for us. We know these things. Okay, we know these things to be true. And we know these things, we know we were created to be equal to each other. We weren't created to dominate over one another and rule over masses in that way. This is an unnatural way they control us, and they control us systematically with these things they create to get us to believe in. These systems and these ways they control us with. It's very complicated and very it's just overwhelming to try to look at and comprehend all at once. It's the systems and the labels. We have to break them down individually, just like I said, if they get us to believe that we are a legal citizen of America and we label ourselves an American, they completely control us with that label, instead of actually thinking of yourself as a natural man or woman that was born naturally to live on the land or from the land, without being restricted by any governing body, which is something we need to get back to. But he wants us to believe, the governor wants us to believe in one side or the other. But both sides restrict and label us to be who they want us to be. They get the people coming from Mexico or other countries further south. Each one of these people coming from the south, if you're a Mexican, you believed in that Mexican nationality they got you to believe in and label yourself as. But somehow or another, their governing body that rules over them failed them somehow, and they don't believe in them as quite as well as they used to. So they're looking for another governing body that they feel they can work with and be controlled by. Well, you're not really going to work with them because you're just going to be controlled by them, but one they like better to be controlled by, I should say, because they're going to give up their natural rights in either system, no matter what nation you come from. You're giving up your natural rights to be dominated by the system that controls us, no matter what nation they get you to believe in. These walls, we know truthfully, shouldn't exist between lands. These nations they control us with, the names of the nations they control us with, should not exist, and we should not label ourselves as and allow ourselves to be controlled by that name as they're doing. We can see it happening in real life. It's not a joke how they enslave and control us to be who they want us to be, guys. It's up to you to make that choice not to be controlled by it. But if you ignore the truth, it will control you. And you will, I mean, you can ignore these problems that they cause with the systems that enslave us, but ultimately it will come back and affect you somehow because you continue to accept living these ways. You continue to accept believing in the things that control you in these ways. And then you pass these ways to your children and your grandchildren to be controlled in the same ways, or worse, because they're changing the ways that were controlled, but still controlled. But, yeah, I mean, we have to stop believing in their systems. Abolish the walls. Stop believing in the names of these countries they control us in. Demand our land and resources back so we can freely live. Abolish money, because that's the one thing that just makes everything so horrible. If you abolish the walls, you have to abolish the money. The only reason these horrible conditions exist is because of the system of money. Let's not kid ourselves. They use money to control us. They use money as a tool because they stole what was naturally ours. Let's not kid ourselves anymore. It's time to wake up to the truth. Stop running from how things really are. Look at them. Reality is happening to us over and over and over again, and we allow ourselves to be consumed in these same old tired ways they keep rolling our minds over with. When are we going to stand up as a real people, humanity, no matter what color, no matter what land you were born to live in? We're all humanity, no matter our differences. But they just label us other things so they can divide us with those labels. It's terrible how they're pushing the division they control. You can't see it, but you can feel it. You can be controlled by it. You can be programmed by the many things they get us to believe in. Change your behaviors because of the ways they want you to live and who they want you to be, and you gladly comply. We gladly comply. What other choice do we have? Comply if you want to live in this system they get us to believe in so badly.
The Border Patrol told me that they did inform the Biden administration and let them know that this influx was coming. So it's not as if the Biden administration didn't know about it, and it's not as if they didn't have time to get prepared for it, but it is clear they are completely unprepared for what is going on the border now, and they're going to be even more unprepared for what will be happening in the coming months. What the Border Patrol told me, and this is actually part of the cartel strategy, because of the volume of people coming across the Border Patrol that makes the arrest, they have to engage quite literally in babysitting And while they're doing babysitting, that provides an opportunity for the cartels.
Now, law enforcement was created to restrict us with the laws they created to restrict humanity with. Okay, and that's what's happening in these cases right here. Okay, they have natural people coming from whatever land to live in our land, and they should be able to naturally do that and homestead land that's available that they like or they want to live in, and they should be able to naturally make a life for them and their children. But because of the system of money, they're labeled as an illegal immigrant. Because of the system that restricts us, the laws that restrict us, they're labeled an illegal immigrant. Okay? It's illegal in their system that controls us. And they control them with that label. Alright? Instead of them being a natural person just coming to another land wanting to homestead because they don't like the land they're living in, they're labeled as a illegal immigrant because of our system that controls our minds and defines us to be who they want us to be. It's the same thing. I mean, it's the same way we're controlled by the label they get us to believe we are. We're an American legal citizen. You know? I don't want to be controlled by the straw man that you get me to be, that you get me to believe in, that you control me with in so many different ways. You see what I mean, guys? This shit is real. And if you think about it, if you really think about the intricate details of how they do this to us, you begin to see the big picture. You begin to see how they control humanity, and they shouldn't have this much control or any control over another human being.
To be able to bring other people across the border illegally. More about the cartels in a second. 2 factoids that the Border Patrol shared with me. Just this calendar year alone, there have been more than 800 criminal aliens apprehended. Those were criminals, violent criminals, who had been previously arrested in the United States and deported, who came across the border again.
Now, here we go, more labels, criminal aliens. Okay. Now, they came over here, broke the laws that restrict humanity, and now they label them something they can control them with even more. Criminal aliens. These people who govern over us, you see how much control they have over us with the labels they create? They define us to be these things too. How much control do they have over people? And we wonder, right? But we can see how much control they really have over people. They have the ability to label us the things that they create. And they control us with it. But what do? We comply. We think we have no choice. In the meantime, these are the same people that steal our natural land and resources. And they get us to buy it back with the money they created. And this money is causing these problems that we see. This money is responsible for the majority of these laws that they restrict us with and label us to be. You know, you're labeled to be a criminal because of the laws that they created. That's a label created from the laws that restrict us. Very sophisticated shit that these people are pulling over us. Mind control, defining who we are. Wake up, people. Wake up, wake up, wake up and deprogram. This shit is real, solid, true. You can see it, real time, affecting real people. Let's wake up. Let's deprogram. Let's not be controlled by these things, because if you just turn your back and you don't see the truth in what I'm saying, these things, they control you in the ways, and they not only control you, but define you. You become these things they want you to be. You want that? It's time to wake up.
Among those included 78 sex offenders and 62 gang members, including gang members from MS-13. And know this, cartels, they are ramping up trafficking across the border. They're exploiting women and children, and they're overwhelming Border Patrol resources. The Border Patrol has made very clear.
The cartels, the drug cartels, wouldn't exist without the system of money. Boom, done, goodbye. Solved that shit, okay? These MS-13 gangs wouldn't exist without the system of money. I mean, not everything will be solved because of this getting rid of the money system, the monetary system, okay? But all of these are labels created from that monetary system that we're forced to use, and only because they've stolen our land and control our resources, and we're only allowed to buy it back. You understand? With the money they created. We have to start waking up to this shit. We can't keep passing this system of control, over to our families, our futures. Your kids are being exposed to this shit. Your children are being exposed to this shit. Your grandchildren are being passed down this way of enslavement. And we just need to wake up to it and stop passing these ways down. It's time we take a stand. We've seen the crazy ways they manipulate our minds in these crises they create for us to be distracted by, to be consumed by and controlled by. These people aren't about freedom that control us in this system. Now, whether Governor Abbott is his true name, is he really the straw man they created him to be? Does he believe, is he a real, is he a person that was programmed just like everyone else? Or is he a person that knows more than most? Is he a person that was put in charge to control everyone? Or is he controlled just like us with his straw man? Is his name real? Governor Abbott? We know governor is just a label for us to respect and be controlled by. But Mr. Abbott, does he have a social security number that controls him? Does he have a driver's license number that controls him? I don't know. We have to look out for the people that do not have these things that we're forced to live by, because these are the ones that are controlling us. The majority of them. Now, there's some people that aren't documented because they choose not to be documented, and those are the people that I respect because they want to be free from this system that controls people in these ways. We have to want to be those people that don't want to be controlled in these ways by these people. Or you can ignore it and go live the ways they define you to be and the ways they consume you with. The control is real, my friends. It's up to you to want to wake up to it. Or you can stay asleep.
To me, the way this strategy works, the cartels, they are involved in every single one of these border crossings that we see. But more important, the cartels are even more involved in the crossings that we do not see. The strategy of the cartels is to overwhelm Border Patrol agents and law enforcement officials. And when the Border Patrol agents are so completely overwhelmed, it's during those moments that the cartels will bring across
these systems that control us with that money, the money they created to control us with, because they have control of our land and resources. They create these situations, don't you understand? These situations wouldn't exist without the system of money. I mean, the cartels, do you think they would go to all this trouble if they couldn't sell the drugs that they have control of, that they create, that they distribute? You'd think they would go through all of that trouble, trafficking, kidnapping and trafficking women or children, if they couldn't make money off of them, the money that they created to control us. But we see all the ways that money controls us, and we call it demonic, we call it evil. But is it really? No, it's just the system and how they control us with it. It's man-made. But we still sit here and see the truth and deny it, not wake up to it. Why? Why? And then we wonder why life is so terrible. Why we're controlled in such ways. I mean, they're not evil in reality, in truth. There is a system that controls us this way, and things are this way because of the system that controls us and enslaves us. These cartels, there wouldn't be any cartels without the system of money. If they want to grow marijuana and distribute it, I mean, it wouldn't be likely in a system without money. And there wouldn't, I mean, yeah, you're going to have some freaks even in a system without money and a system without control, but not near as many as what this system itself creates. Okay? So, to sit there and say that all of humanity could not live together in a system of money and share things with each other and freely live in the land and homestead the land and grow from the land and create from the land and teach children about the land and the things that can help them in that land, you know, instead of us being indoctrinated in these systems that control us, and we're forced to send our children to school. That's a big red flag, guys. What happens if you don't send your children to school? These are the children you should naturally be in control of, without anybody telling you what the fuck to do with them, right? But naturally, these should be your children. You should be able to want to and be able to have the choice to teach them what you want. If you want to teach them how to survive without the governmental system that controls them and supplies and tells them how to live, you should be able to. Should be able to teach them the many plants that help them medicinally, the many plants that help them, nutritionally. You should be able to teach them how to live off the land and not be able to depend on governing bodies that control you with the many things they created to control us with.
Border, even the more dangerous elements. It could be people who are violent criminals, or it could be people who are from what are called special interest countries. Those are countries that are
See, violent criminals. More labels they created from the system of law that restricts us, okay? A lot of labels they control the individual natural men and women with. You see, when you believe in the invisible borders that name the land you live on, they control you with those names and the laws in the borders they created. They're invisible borders that don't exist in reality, only exist in the program they got you to believe in the system they got you to believe in. That was the purpose of you going to school and being indoctrinated with these systems. That was the purpose, so they can control you with it. You see? That's why they force our children to go to these schools, or they'll take our children away from us. We have no natural rights to what we naturally created. We naturally created our son or daughter, okay? We naturally created our children. But they're telling you they have control over that. What gives them the right to have control over what you created? What you and your loved one created? You're the man or the woman that you were with and you created that life with. What gives the governing body any right to what you naturally created? There is none. But they've got you to believe that they control you with that. And what do? We say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, we will send our children to school because you forced us to. And we comply. And guess what happens in school? They program us in these ways they control us with. They get us to comply and keep complying because they program us in these ways. The system of money, they get us to be consumed in school by the numbers they control us with. Okay? A lot of people don't believe they created time to enslave us in, but it's true. That's reality, and that's what's really happening. Okay? And they teach you those numbers to be enslaved in time, controlled in time, and scheduled in time with on the calendar they created to schedule our lives with, right? Because they schedule the payments that we're forced to make with the money that they enslave us with, right? All because. Why? All because they stole our land, our natural land and resources from us. A lot of people don't think, well, that's no big deal. They stole our natural land and resources from us. How do you know it was ours to begin with? Oh, come on. What the fuck? What kind of stupid shit, stupid way is that of thinking? What controlled you? Stole the land from you. That's truth. Okay? And what created you made the land for you. For real. That's truth. So you can live freely, not be controlled. You're not being controlled by anything else but the systems that men created to control you with. But you accept it. But you won't stand up for what created that land for you, will you? You won't accept the truth in what created you, and you won't accept the truth in what created that land for you. Why do you keep going against what created us? if you refuse to deprogram from these systems that control you and define you. There's a reason why we're waking up to truth. But it's not to keep being controlled in the system they created. It's to start waking up to that system and the many ways they control you with. Because if you don't, you're going to be manipulated, defined, controlled, and enslaved in real life. Because they do it. We can see this. It's happening. It's always been happening. We've just been convinced that it was normal life we were programmed to be living, when it's not. It's multiple systems of control and manipulation and how they define us to be.
Raise concerns about the danger they may pose to the United States, such as people coming from countries like Iran and Iraq, China, as well as elsewhere.
There you go. People coming from Iran and Iraq and China also. You know, these are the divisions that get us to be consumed by as well. The names of the nations that consume the other brothers and sisters in their lands. You know, they control them just the same as it controls us. But the terrible thing is they get us to hate them for where they live and where they come from and the government they're controlled by. When actually they're just natural people like we are, wanting to find a way to live peacefully and have a family. Now I know you're going to say, well, there's the violent criminals, just like we've talked and discussed, that's the label they control the natural people with, because they created the system. The laws that restrict us, hence the labels that they can control us with because of the money. We've already been through that, the system of money that we're forced to live by, that we're forced to be enslaved to live by. We need to wake up to these things. Because the system of money is a beast. It's a beast with many heads. And that's not to get you to believe in some kind of biblical thing. It is the system of money. It has its hands in many systems that control us, in many labels that define us to be the people we are. Because without money, those labels wouldn't exist, and we wouldn't be those things. But we are, and it does, and we allow it. All I'm saying is we need to wake up and stop being controlled this way. We want to be free. We want not to be manipulated by these things they create to control the masses. They control not only you, to think about it, but millions and billions this way. Everyone pretty much on the earth gets controlled the same way. Why are we allowing it, people? Because the people doing it to us, they are the few, and we are the many. But we're still asleep, and we're still being controlled. And I'm still just talking to air, because many refuse to believe and want to deprogram seriously. Many still refuse to want to be a person that's not manipulated in these ways. They figure, well, it's my choice. When it's not. It's not your choice to be the things they created you to be. There's so many other things. You can be the natural person you were created to be. You can live the way you want to live, naturally, truthfully. You don't have to settle for this garbage that they push on us and try to force us to be and force us to live by. Because as natural people, we have a lot of true intention. And true intention gets things done. True intention really, it exposes what's not true, what is controlling us, and does away with it. And we need to wake up and start doing away with these things that manipulate us so horribly. If we can do away with the system of money, think about all of these things that we're seeing in videos, just like the governor. His position would not exist. The government that governs over us and enslaves us would not exist. The kingdoms that control us would not exist. The selfishness and labels they created and greed they created would not exist. The homelessness would not exist. We could truly be free. Our titles would not exist. We could be natural men and women again. We could actually teach our children in how to live off the land that was naturally created for them, and we can actually teach them how to be independent, truly independent, free people. That would be awesome, right? We could do away with all these systems that govern over us. I mean, without money, how would people truly react? Without being enslaved and controlled, how would people truly react? I know they brainwashed us to believe that there would be anarchy. I know they continuously, repetitiously program us to believe that humanity could not handle controlling themselves, being free, truthfully. I don't believe that. There's strength in nature. And you don't see anarchy in what's natural, except for, some species killing other species to survive. That may be naturally the way it's meant to be, but it may be because humanity has left nature itself and left it left the animals to survive on their own. Maybe we were naturally created to exist with the animals and plant life, and to help nurture the animal and plant life. I don't know. Humanity has lost that part of itself. Will we ever break free from the system that controls us and get back to that part of humanity that naturally existed? I don't know. It's up to you guys. I mean, we wake up one by one and we decide we want to deprogram from the real things that control us in our lives. I mean, that's something you'll have to decide. But think about it, because it's real. And it's really happening to you. And these things that these ways, these labels and everything we talked about, they really do control us. You can't stop it from controlling other people, but you can stop it from controlling you. And that's how it happens. Free your mind one man or woman at a time. Well, guys, take care of yourself.